tornado on May 16th caused significant destruction. However, the response of St. Louis community has truly been remarkable and heartwarming. There is much left to be done to help our fellow citizens to get back on their feet and face, for many, what may be a new reality going forward. The Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis, the Boots on the Ground organization, Action, the Red Cross, FEMA, and many others have been laser focused on helping to restore our fellow citizens to some semblance of normal life. Some of our local political figures, our Lady Shalene Clark, Laura Keyes, and Sharon Tyus, have worked tirelessly to give everything they have to restore stability to their communities. The mayor and her staff have faced this challenge with compassion and resolve. Governor Chiquillo, Senators Holly and Smith, as well as U.S. Congressman Wesley Bell, have all been present, effective, and very helpful and focused. While we must continue to do everything within our collective will to help with the immediate needs of our community, it is important that we begin to also envision a plan for what the future of our city should be. We have over 20,000 parcels of vacant land in St. Louis, most of which are in North St. Louis. I propose that the city retain a strong, inclusive development team of experienced local developers, architects, engineers, housing developers, contractors, etc., as consultants to those faith-based institutions. We call that the team. Work with the newly formed Spirit of St. Louis organizations that include the Clergy Coalition and the Catholic Charities in devising a formula to gift them the vacant properties that are in North St. Louis. Assign the city to retain the team to work with the individual churches and to assist them with developing the properties that they are now the shepherds of. We have a hole in our soul. No amount of police can fix that. However, empowering our faith-based community can and will go a long way toward restoring our values, strengthening the generations that we've lost, engaging and empowering our churches. In this process will also strengthen them. It will allow them to expand their daycare programs, food programs, youth senior programs, and education programs. But most importantly, it will help them attract people back to these communities that were abandoned for lack of these values and lack of investment.
But Julian Nix, the Chief Recovery and Neighborhood Transformation Officer for the City of St. Louis, report directly into Mayor Spencer and overseeing the broader recovery effort. I would say you don't take this position because it's easy, you don't take it because it pays well. It took a lot of aspect of faith that this is a moment for St. Louis. This could be and should be a turning point for investment that's long been neglected in our North St. Louis neighborhoods. I was in the right place at the right time and asked to take on kind of the job by Mayor Spencer as helping oversee kind of the recovery effort. But for me, the confidence in the recovery doesn't come from the realization of what you see on the ground, because when you look at that, you look at the devastation, you see the disinvestment, the problem does look impossible. It does look and feel impossible to me as I work through it every day, but the mission to do it anyway remains, and faith is a huge part for me on waking up every day and doing the best that I can and the best my team can to oversee the recovery effort, working alongside Mayor Spencer. And so maybe I'll start just for others. I didn't see some faces, but some new, on kind of what my role is, what the recovery office is, and how it works. And then we'll turn it over to kind of questions and things from the group. But early in the disaster, we set up the Emergency Operations Center. That was really the first 2 months disaster. Tornado hit on May 16th. We know the story there, 152-hour winds on the ground for 13 miles, 8 miles which went through the center of the city in the heart of North St. Louis, about a mile wide. Devastated over 5,000 buildings, over 10,000 families, and largely black, largely uninsured, and largely low income. We recognize that all that damage is on top of a disaster existed well before that, which was historical racism that drove redlining, covenants, restrictive housing, things that created the conditions for the economic disaster that this was, but also making a disaster really, really difficult to recover from, that is difficult for even communities that are wealthier. We also know the history of recoveries is that it most impacts low-income communities, that they typically don't recover and they don't recover well. And I can't promise that we will, and that we certainly can't promise that everything will be made whole, but the history of it and the history of those disasters is not lost upon Mayor Spencer, and it's not lost upon me. As we look at the broader mandate that Mayor Spencer has said, is not to necessarily say we're keeping everybody in their home, not to say we're keeping everybody in the neighborhood, but that for people who want to stay, we create opportunities for them to stay in St. Louis, a place that they call home, and hopefully create opportunities that as we do look at both the restoration and the rebuild effort, give them a chance to build back and move back into their communities. But also making sure that the recovery vision and what it looks like is led by the people who have been in those communities, love those communities, and know what they want to see for their community. And so the Recovery Office is really a symbolism of helping drive that centric vision. And so after the Emergency Operations Center, after we finished the shelters, after we got the electric wires up, secured the safety of buildings, got food out into the communities in the immediate aftermath, we moved into the Recovery Office, which was the goal of recognizing that this disaster recovery is going to be well beyond 2 to 3 months. It's at least 2 years from an immediate coordinated effort, and it's an 8 to 10 year journey. I always start with that just to set realistic expectations for the timeline of what we're in this, and that's just to get it back into something closer to what it was. But we also, in the vision that Marvin set forth, is to build back better than what was there.
I live in the 11th, elevated 11th floor on Hebert in Grand. I've been there 30 plus years. I was born in the neighborhood, not raised in the neighborhood, but came back and raised my family here over 30 years ago. Jubilee's been around a while. We've had all kinds of development dreams over the years. We've done some houses. We've done a bunch of neat things. We got great grassroots relationships. But when it comes to big projects, we're novices. And this stuff is going to have to happen with small things and with big things. And our experience has been that Karen down at CDA told us that we are the only organization in the city of St. Louis that has gone through the zoning process in over 16 years and has accomplished that process for what we're doing with the Jubilee Wellness Center in the Elliott School, the former Elliott Public School. We shut down the motel on Grand, right across the street from our church, and a bunch of things are going to be happening there. But it does not happen just with us. We have the dream, we have the vision, we have the energy, we will not stop. But we don't have the technical expertise. We just don't have it. We can't hire it at the moment, and we need people. We have a development team of Trivers, of Matt Drinnett at Impact Marketplace, of Parrott Construction, of Hush and Blackwell, and of McCormick, Fair and Salazar. Without those partnerships, it's not going to happen for the local neighborhood church, and we are a local neighborhood church. And we need SLDC, and we need CDA, to have tutorials for these kinds of things. I was just down at CDA the last couple days finding out how to fill out these reports.
If somebody's city are ready to realize, they realize that, okay, we need to make some changes. So like, if, for example, if you want to go through some variance, council meeting meets like every 2 months, you're going to wait 2 months, right? So, things like that.
To your point, let me just tell you that we are looking at those kinds of changes that will enhance the permitting process,
right,
which are the things that people are concerned about. I think right now, you look at the average time to get a permit or to get something done is a little over 6 months. So our goal is to retreat back to something that happened maybe 10 years ago, which is we had a one-stop shop platform which allowed for at least 85% of all of permits to be approved within a 24 to 36 hour time frame. A lot of legwork done up front, but by the time that we got everybody in the room, and the idea here is that everybody who needs to look at a permit and approve part of the permit should be in the room at the same time, as opposed to inline permitting. So we're looking at things like that, and we're looking at trying to, form and organize ourselves such that we can get that done.
We have a neighborhood plan. We had a neighborhood that started a development. I got a market rate house. And unfortunately, the builder did not have the capacity to complete it. So all the parcels now belong to LRA. So we already have the plan, but we need help with cultivating the parcels so that when we get a developer here, they don't have to tack on extra funds to clean it up. We have brush all over. That's really dangerous for the neighborhood as well. So I want to know, because we're ready. Brickline Greenway is coming in our direction, which is why the CDC started for Covenant Blue, JVL, and St. Louis Place. But the neighborhoods, in order to support the Greenway, we have to clean it up. And we already had a plan, so I understand, I'm not trying to be a naysayer here. I know that the tornado relief is crucial, but we need help over here. We're right near Grand Center, and we have some partners that possibly may be interested, but they don't want to have to fight to have things cleaned up in order to help us.
This is the only phone that I have. I do not have an office phone. And I think I'm the only alder in the city. This is it. So I want to be in contact with you. I don't know if you all are aware, but the elevated 11th ward was hardest hit by the tornado. And we desperately need to rebuild. And so it is so great to hear the things that you're saying, because we do need you. And so I can assist with some coordinated efforts to bring together the people who need places to stay. I want to keep my population, and I want it to grow. And so in order to do that, I need you. So here's the number. Everybody get ready to text. 314-441-0375. One more time. 314-441-0375. Text me your information. My phone will start to pop off. And I look forward to either calling you back or you calling me. And let's work together, because again, I need my ward to not only keep the people it's got, but we want to grow.
I mean, a lot of conversations, we're working with Stephanie on Clinton Peabody, we even considered taking down all that brick. There is a lot of work that goes into that work, but, you know, again, if you're paying for new brick that isn't made in St. Louis anymore, you know, that money then really is staying within the communities to pay back to the city. I think there's a lot of conversations to have with developers about reusing that St. Louis brick. I mean, it's great, you know, really encouraging to hear you talk about, I think you said 1,800 homes that you felt like were close to being revitalized, or, you know, were maybe close that you could get people in them sooner. You know, when we talk to people about these assets of our community, I mean, you know, Marvin mentioned, what cities did you rattle off, Marvin? Atlanta, Nashville, you know, they don't have this. They don't have what we have here. And, you know, I always feel like that's such an asset for us to be able to leverage. And, you know, whatever future North St. Louis has, its treasure is still, you know, here, even though it's been decimated to the point that it has. There's still so much there to leverage.
On the one hand, when we talk about the faith-based community, they can do that work. But we also need to have technical side that for the help to those communities. And I think there's somewhere down the line, what I'm suggesting is figuring out a way that the city, SODC, whomever, can underwrite that assistance. That's what we need, because otherwise it doesn't get done. But if you are able to do that and bring these people together like this, you'll take off like a rocket. You'll be shocked at what you'll see.
Right.
But you gotta make that transition. You gotta make that happen.